Dear listeners, welcome to a new episode. Today we dive into the future of the built environment where architecture and engineering are one. Our guests are the visionary founders of Sterling-Presser, architects and engineers in Berlin. Welcome to K Podcast. Hallo liebe Elke and bonjour Nicolas.
Bonjour.
Hallo.
We decided to do the podcast in English. You know, Elke, you're German, Nicolas, you're French. So I think it's the best we do it in English. Okay?
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's your common language also.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for inviting us to this podcast. We are very happy to share our thoughts and our way how we met. And so I'm Elke, and we started our office together in 2018 in Berlin, and merged the ideas of architecture and structure, and that's how we started.
You met in London, right?
Yes, my name is Nicolas. Our journey started, it's true, in London in the years 2006. So I come from France, and I just studied in France, but the main big professional experience was in London for me. And our destiny crossed already in 2006. Myself, I'm trained as an architect and structural engineer. So from France, and for long, about 10 years, we worked in various offices in London. Mm-hmm. Me more on the engineering side, Elke more on architectural side.
Yeah.
And it's how it came. A little bit before Brexit, I would say. We decided just to jump into a new, let's say, a new adventure. Yeah. So it's where we moved to Berlin in 2015 with our family. And it was time at one point to put our experience together and to start the architecture and engineering as a new idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trained as an architect. I did my studies in Frankfurt at the Städelschule with Ben van Berkel at this time. And and then after this I went to London to work for Zaha Hadid for about 10 years. And this was a great experience, being first in another city and also in this office. And then after we started our office, or when we started our office, it was very important for us to stay, let's say, on the edge of the development. So because I had this experience at Zaha Hadid, that we were always like thinking a little bit out of the box and developing ideas and concepts this way. And this was very important to us to continue this.
I think not a little bit out of the box.
Yeah.
Out of the shape.
A lot, yeah.
But I would say we had a common destiny before we start working together. It was Elke had mentioned Zaha Hadid, but on the engineering side, on the geometry side, I was working for very long on the Grand Theatre in Rabat. So the French speaking on my expertise was bringing me on one of the Zaha Hadid project, which is now built. And it's where as well the idea started that architecture and engineering sometimes struggle in the development of an idea, in the development of a construction. And for many years, 6 to 7 years of process, I was always thinking, could we do things differently? I would not say better, but can we think differently? From how can we the origin of an idea comes to reality, but by being more holistic. And this project I'm mentioning, which is this large theater in Morocco, is a beautiful achievement, but as well is a beautiful struggle between disciplines.
Give us an example, please.
The split of package, for example, between facade, architecture, engineering. So means that people produce drawings at different rhythm, different time. So basically we talk about hours of coordination which I think should come together at the beginning in one flow. And when people produce information, they start hiding behind contracts, behind time frame. And when it comes to project developments, I always thought it was not collaborative or not always fruitful for the projects. Because at the end of the day, if you're an architect, an engineer, or someone who works for environment, what you're serving is a project. Not only your clients, it's a project that is left behind. And this was growing for long. And I would say the one who gave me that pulse was my first employment with Cecil Balmon inside Arup. It was a small team of researchers between architects and engineers, and even philosophers. There's many people there. They were already thinking that we should think outside the box, outside the shape. But
where exactly was this and when, Nicolas?
It was my first experience in London, so 2006 to around 2010-11, when I jumped from my French experience coming from Paris and trying to be outside the country, outside my experience to be international. And that team that I met was about 15 people inside 10,000 large company. And this team of thinkers, I would call it like that, was trying to rethink what can it be the relationship between geometry, between architecture in the making, and at the very early stage. So from the beginning, can be just experiment form. And this was helping me to grow that idea that architecture and engineering is one flow. And this was growing after that, the development of this large project I mentioned. And it came really in this maturity when we started working together with Elke. That early discussion came to the idea of an entrepreneurship, not only as a practice inside a let's say, larger practice.
Elke, are you feeling at home now in Berlin?
It's a difficult question, I have to say. On one hand, yes, because I'm, let's say, back in Germany, where I'm from. On the other hand, Berlin is not my home city or home area. So, in this sense, not really. And then what I'm also missing, or what was great in London, it was even more international than Berlin. Berlin is international as well, but it's another way somehow, like in terms of profession and also the different, let's say, opportunities you had as an architect being in London was much more interesting and much more exciting than being an architect in Berlin. And because I also worked in other offices in Berlin before we started our own office, and this was like a big step for me to come from Zaha Hadid and to end in a German architecture office, where the thinking was very different. And this was also one way why we said as well, okay, we need to start our own office. Because, we wanted to continue what we started in London. And this was very important to us to do it, let's say, in our own way. And to combine what Nicolas was saying already before, to combine as well the architecture and structural thinking. And, that was one reason. And also because it would have been difficult to stay in a German architecture office, and with all this experience we had, or I had before.
Absolutely. You are traveling a lot. You have international projects. You have, so to say, USP, a unique selling point, Sterling-Presser, combining architects and civil engineering. Very exciting journey.
Yeah, we are just back from Riyadh, from Saudi Arabia. So we were attending the Cityscape Global in Riyadh, which was a very exciting fair.
What is it all about?
I think it's gathering every year all the, let's say, the real estate industry, all the architects, engineers, clients, passionate about building industry, and everybody meets for 4 days and beyond, and an opportunity to meet old friends, good colleagues, and everybody who contributes to the growth of Saudi at the moment. So it's a very exciting moment to see the, let's say, the future projects coming in the mind of people on the ground as well.
Tell us a bit. So you have the airport. The site is, I think, 1 hour driving.
It's a journey. It's
through the desert.
Yes, it's true. It's on the north of the airport, about 45 minutes away.
Yeah, so we, like, every morning we had to take a bus. There was a bus shuttle, and we were about 1 hour or something in this bus shuttle going to the cityscape, and and also going through the desert somehow. And it was very interesting, the journey, like on the way going there.
And the contrast, I would say, because usually you do a fair, you're already in the city, in the lobby of an hotel, or you have this type of environment. If you go to Munich in Expo Real, you're already part of the city. Here, you experience the void, the landscape, which is already reflecting, because you have at one point this post, this announcement that Cityscape is coming with an arrow, but there's nothing around. So you see every 2 kilometers, Cityscape in this direction, but there's no doubt, there's only one road. So it tells you, Cityscape, what are we shaping? What is the landscape that's coming? So already this is announcing the certain attitude. But it's as well interesting, the contrast. You do your journey on the shuttle, a bit, you have your thoughts, and at one point you have the feeling you open the door, these big doors, and you have like the full planet is there. It's interesting. You have this contrast and this energy.
And also in the bus, it's interesting. As a woman, you can only go into the bus on the back. So there are separate doors. So as a woman, you have to get into the back, and you can only sit in the back area, and the men are sitting in the front area. So it's very separated, and sure, it's for us it was also a very different context, because everybody is wearing their dresses. The women are wearing their black dresses, and the men the white dresses, and so I was the only woman, and not many more, which are coming in Western clothing. And the same for Nicolas as well.
Yeah, no. So this is part of it's a cultural experience. We're not talking about only practicing as an architect or an engineer or trying to build something. You just every project we did, actually, if I just see it a bit more in wider pictures, always bring us a cultural experience. This interaction is that's why we like it. So you were just asking before if we feel at home in Berlin, but in the end, as we work more internationally or we open doors, we are welcoming the world through our projects or through our visits, through our clients, through some collaborations. So that trip was really, I would say, special. It's a couple of times we traveled to Saudi Arabia, and it's let's say it's a new experience. Yeah, it's something maybe. It's a bit similar, if I would say, when we started our office, our first project was in China. And I would say I would compare it.
Where?
It was, so we were traveling at that time to Beijing and going to Taiyuan. 4 hours, I would say, on the south of Beijing, around, in train. On Taiyuan was the same experience. We had a local team. We had a team helping to translate, but it's not the case in Saudi, but it was as well the same step. You you have to put your skills, your ideas into a completely different context. And try to be, I would not say to fit, but you have to have a deep understanding how you're going to communicate, how you're going to how you're going to practice architecture with what is there. So the context is different. We talk about the desert, and there it was very green when we went there. It was,
I think what is important is when you do projects in different countries and different cultures, is that you need to understand the culture. You need to understand the context, the environment where you are. And even if you sure, you will be not able to understand every single thing because you are not living there, you are not Chinese, or you are not from Saudi Arabia, not Arabic. But first of all, you need to be open as well, to be open to different cultures and different contexts, and but also to try to understand them, because especially when you want to give them a building, to contribute to the city there, or for the people to create like in China, it was a water theater, so it's a big event place for people where people meet and communicate and have fun together and so on. So you need to understand a little bit the culture, for who it is, what is important for them, and to get a bit out of your thinking, your Western thinking, and and to get to be open.
How do you get these informations and the feeling? Is it a lot of reading?
One part is reading, but one part is traveling, experiencing. So it's nothing you can watch with a screen or download or just... sure, you can document yourself, but you need to be confronted to your own misunderstanding as well, your own mini mistake culturally you do, how you adjust just by meeting, by having situations. And we learn it in China by eating together with a client, discussing, this round table would just flow, just welcome the flow of ideas. So this was, but you need to as well understand how people exchange and communicate and think about their future. And Saudi, for sure, it's different as we experience it now. They have a relationship to time, which is completely different. They talk about the vision of 2030 and how it's a young population as well, which is it was very different from China. It was much more a sea of boom, a sea of and relationship to landscape. Obviously, is different because you have this strong horizontality, this dryness. And we traveled last week, but actually it was for us already very hot. Yeah, and we are November, December, so you have this relationship to the climate. So to answer to your point is by walking the talk, just by drawing the project, but trying to be with the person together, whether they are consultants, whether they are clients, whether they are as well users. You need to understand that dynamic of it's what architecture is bringing us. That openness, and so that's unique.
The water theater bridge you were just mentioning. Can you describe the project a bit for our listeners?
Yeah, so we developed not only the bridge there, we were developing the whole master plan. And within this master plan, there was the water theatre, and then also the bridge, and this water theatre and bridge is built, and then also another building which is like an artist building. This was also built and was designed by us, and for the master plan, it ended somehow in the concept phase. But it was a very interesting project because it was a huge plot of land where we were developing the whole master plan, and also thinking about kind of acupuncture in the landscape. So we had certain needles, let's say, in the landscape where we were suggesting that there could be, for example, the water theatre. And this water theatre, it's along a river as well, and it's placed, let's say, on the edge somehow
in the meander.
Yeah, on the meander of the river, basically.
Yeah, and what was very unique, because when we did the master plan, which is about 15 kilometers of river, part of that first call, we had to place these specific programs, cultural programs or ecotourism. On the water theatre was obvious. The needle has to be pointed out just in the inner curve of the meander of that river Xiaohe. And there was no discussion. It was interesting. Everybody went on site and felt it obvious that this theatre will welcome 3,500 visitors to sit outdoor, to watch a show celebrating water, which is very specific. Water, the moon, the elements in China has its own language. And we are inhabiting the river. So it's very interesting. And from there, the master plan, we draw one line that was coming out of the lotus form. So it's a concentric form. Mm-hmm. It's important to say that it's centered. It's a moving show.
So for them it was important, the idea of lotus leaves. So this was one wish from the client, that we can incorporate it in our concept, and that's why the theatre is a kind of flowing form, which is forming these lotus leaves, and you have seating elements on top of it, where you can then watch the show, the water show, and beneath the leaves you have the program. So there you have, like, I don't know, shops and restaurants and whatever facilities you need. And this is how we developed the water theatre.
And this was interesting because the bridge, as I was saying, was emerging from this form, because as we were designing a large landscape as well, which is it's on the south, we didn't say it, it's on the south of Taiyuan, so like 40 minutes in the very green part, so that people can rest and come out of the very urban part. But we needed a getaway to come in as well in the theatre, and the bridge is a flow. It's a doubly curved bridge in plan, and within it's a bit as a meander as well, and it's an indirect entrance to a theatre. We don't want to enter a theatre on a show, on the magic experience through one direct door. So the sequence in landscape is helping people to start having already an experience of 200 meters above the river and experience the building without being in the building. So that sequence was as well very natural for the clients to accept, because it was just an obvious sequence in landscape.
Talking about bridges, this is a huge bridge theatre, but you also did some smaller ones, but very important projects.
The bridge is an important point in our work. First, physically, because we building them or we are designing them, but as well conceptually. So it's a big topic that we come across in many ways in many countries.
And also the bridges is somehow like between architecture and structure. It's an very interesting topic. That's why we are working on a lot of bridges, but mainly foot bridges and pedestrian, also some street bridges. But it needs, for us, they need to be like a special design or a special input for the place, basically. So at the moment we are doing 2 bridges in Bedburg. So we were winning the competition there. Bedburg is close to Cologne in Germany. And one is the castle bridge. So there's a castle park with a castle, and this castle is divided by a small river to the city hall. And in the city hall the weddings are happening there. And this bridge will help then to connect to the castle, so that the people after the wedding can just cross the bridge to go to the castle. So this is one bridge, and the other one is a little bit more to the north, in this park, and that's a little bit a longer bridge. But they are like sisters, so we designed them as a family, as a bridge family, and at the moment we are doing the LP6 for the project, so which is the tender process. And next year they will be built, these two bridges.
But if I could say, the size doesn't matter. The bridge in China is very long, 200 meters, a bit wide. It needs to accept large public. The small bridges in Bedburg that Elke mentions are 15 meters, 30 meters maximum as a length, as span. But they are inhabiting always in a special way the landscape. Whether it's urban, whether it's natural, they are symbolic. The choice of material is to be chosen accordingly to the site, so it's a bit of genius loci. This one in Bedburg, they are almost Japanese, I would say, but they are inhabiting Bedburg, but they are very, let's say, minimalist, because that context just want a certain impressionist expression reflected in the water, but not more. It's just a simple expression of a crossing, because they are symbolic for a city hall, and they are going to bring people together on weddings, and they will serve as a background, but they are not the first. They don't come with a lot of ego. Sometimes the bridge comes more on the background, so it's sitting with quietness in the landscape. So we enjoy that relationship to landscape.
Talking about the past and connecting to people, Elke, you have a very special project, and Nicolas, you as well. This is the Kogi project. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, so the Kogis, they are indigenous from Colombia, and they had been, I think until the 70s or something, they had been not in contact with the outer world. So they were, so they lived basically on their own, high up in the Sierra Nevada. And I was reading some books from Lukas Buchholz is his name, and I found it very interesting because he went there to report and to write about them, and then I contacted him, and then we organized a workshop with the Architects Chamber, and also Bauhaus Earth, and us. So I was the main organizer for this workshop, and obviously the Kogis, a workshop in Berlin to understand how they think, how they live, how they do their architecture, and how they are managing to live sustainable, because that's what they are doing. And this is how I found out about them. And I was also then, I don't know, there's different movies. One is called Aluna, for example, from one guy from the BBC. He was reporting about the Kogis as well. And and that's how it started.
How come they are ready now to share information and their backgrounds and everything?
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, they don't want it to be in contact with, let's say, they call us the younger brother. But as they were seeing that we are destroying too much the earth, they had to get in contact with us. That's how they say it. And and this is the reason why they are now in contact with, let's say, outside their environment, with people outside their environment. Yeah.
Very interesting.
It has been interesting discussion through that experience in the studio. And I was not expecting that at the beginning. Yeah, you read about other cultures, you're documenting yourself. On this one, I would say, was opening new doors, a real relationship to materiality. For example, they don't consider in the Kogi the material as manufacturers. They are a living body. So that's interesting. People talk about sustainability, circular economy, and some words are almost repeated again and again in every, let's say, lectures. And people are concerned, but they are almost having different, the same habits of considering material as a ready-made element. On the Kogi, we talked to them when they came to a workshop. We went through the forest with them. And they're explaining about trees, who is leading the forest. For us, it's a bit of, at the beginning, a bit of surprise on how can we respond to that. But with a bit of curiosity, we just talked further about what do they mean, how to build. And they are just saying you have to choose the right tree, you have to communicate with the trees, they are living bodies. And they even see in their Nue, these buildings they are creating for their temples, they see the material still alive. They are chanting, they have ritual, and they are just making sure that there's still a connection with nature. And through these discussions, what I learned, and what we learned, is possibly we don't understand anymore our relationship to nature, even if we think we do.
And also what is interesting as well, they are also saying, like, let's say the form and the way how you build, it's also influencing your thoughts in the building, you know, how you feel.
Can you give an example?
I mean, okay, for them, they are building their Nui, which is for us equal to a city hall, let's say, because it's their place where they always meet and discuss and and exchange ideas as well. And their Nui basically is it's built in a way that it's representing their worldviews. So how they are thinking about the world. So it's they are thinking that we have 9 worlds basically, and they are building 9 layers. Like some are visible and some are in the earth and are not visible, and the whole way basically how they are building the Nui, it's so everything has a meaning inside the Nui. So it's not just random collection of materials, and so everything has a very much a meaning. And also what they are saying as well, that like what Nicolas was saying before, is not that you just get a tree somewhere and then you take it for your construction. They are before asking the tree if the tree wants to be basically used for the Nui. And then later they also do some certain rituals that the building is alive again. Because they are also saying that here, I mean, they were here, for example, in the architect's chamber. I was feeling a little bit of pity for them because, you know, we were in the chamber and then suddenly the air condition was not working anymore, and it was getting, or it somehow there was a problem and it was getting colder and colder. And we were not even able to open the windows, you know, to get a little bit warmer air inside.
It was a beautiful
situation. So it was, I was really feeling a pity for them to be here, because what they are saying we are living in dead buildings. And for them, they can't understand why we are doing this, basically. And this was a good example for them, being there and being somehow in a cave and not being able to connect to the outside world anymore. So
I think it was that experience to meet them in Berlin. What's unique, we talk about buildings, but we talk about as well trees, nature, manufacture, but as well a space of memory. And I was explaining them, one of the first projects we did together with Elke was a symbolic bridge close to East Side Gallery. It was a call for idea, and we were explaining that we tried to do I would not call it a memorial, but a reunion, a regeneration of ideas, that the bridge physically go from east to west on top of the Spree. And it was interesting to see their reaction, say, but what do you need to commemorate? Again, back to the thoughts. Why you need to talk about the past with that building? For them, they were not comfortable with the fact that here in some Western country we need to build memorials to remember at all cost. For me, it was quite... I was expecting the other discussions, but material, but not this one. There are long discussions about memorial, where we want to celebrate the past, and they say you should just move away from it if it is like negative or positive, but you should just move on. Where your bridge has to talk about the East and the West again. It was interesting. Let's say it's challenging discussions when you have someone who doesn't have the same background. Not the same, it's not only about language, about...
I mean, for them, basically, I mean, they are very much connected to nature. You know, they are living with the nature and they are understanding the nature like other indigenous people much better than we do, because since a long time a lot of us are disconnected to nature. So for them, they have like a completely different understanding of the environment. So for them, they can communicate with nature. They can communicate, I don't know, with the trees, with the animals, with the stones, with the mountains, and so on. So that's what they are saying, at least. And for us, I mean, we lost this connection. So for us, it's it's difficult to understand or to follow what they are saying, because for us we are not so much able anymore, or maybe sometimes we are, but
we are the little stupid brothers.
Yeah, or they don't see it like, completely like that. They say we are on a learning curve, but hopefully we listen something. It's a bit how they turn it around. Sometimes it happens that, even in the past, you consider indigenous people that they need to catch up. You see that. Don't want to go back to the history of America, but we have seen many stories about how the civilized person just do some conquest and just trying to impose some new rules. And in the end, there's a deep understanding of nature, of spirituality, of we all have a certain feel for things, but they just like have a deeper feel for a sense of space and nature. From the discussion, we felt a little bit that we need to listen.
When they were visiting you in Berlin, did you ask them what they think about AI, artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, we had this discussion before, and for them, basically, I mean, they have nothing to do with it because they don't need it and they are not using any technology. And so for them, it's something which doesn't speak to them. But what they always say, I mean, they say that, like, let's say the younger brother, they know that we are very advanced, or that we are very interested in technology, and they also think that we can use it or should use it, but we have to use it in the right way. You know, we should not use it in a way that it's kind of destroying the planet. We have to use it in a way that it's positive. And then they are supporting this idea as well.
They were even added comments in general about technology. They are not saying we are against new technology, or no, they were just saying we have understanding of the spiritual understanding of nature and so on. You have very developed tools, but don't disconnect yourself from the source of being, inhabiting space and life on the planet. And sometimes it can be that we are developing some very clever tools, but we are moving away from that connection. So they say we just need to combine both. A lot of philosophy behind.
So they are curious.
They are curious, and they are really open for it, I would say in general.
AI in architecture. Would you like to describe a little bit to our listeners?
Yeah, so I mean, we just recently had an interview as well with a competition online, and they were also asking us how we are using AI in architecture and in our office. So so for us it's a very interesting tool, let's say, because we are also a smaller office, and a lot of things we couldn't do so quickly if we were not using AI. So we use it for concept development, but also for climate analysis, or we also do a lot of we work with a lot of parametric tools as well, with Rhino and Grasshopper and so on, and then we are also integrating AI with it. And we also use it for, visualization, for renderings, and also for presentations, mood boards,
it's clearly
concept text.
It's clearly embedded in our process, as we're always curious about every new technology. So back to the early time in London, I was in that advanced geometry units. Before you had parametric tools, we were coding. We were just developing new ways of describing geometries. This time now is more developed. These tools are more accessible, but the AI opened completely a new horizon. Not only on describing geometry, but the relationship with text, prompt, pixel, and I think we have to live with it now. I think it's part of any process. And we try to turn it into advantage, to make it a bit quicker, to be as well, to support our creativity. This is maybe the biggest, I would say, challenge and source of joy. Mm-hmm. Myself, I'm very, pretty much love sketching. So there's always pens and sketch around me. Elke always been very developed in digital, I would say. Mm. But we always now we can challenge both, and some new sketch are developed with AI, which surprise some early sketch I'm doing, and they are becoming digital. And we even explore the space of that sketch differently. So basically it's pushing some boundaries, which we really like, because it's the core of our work is creativity. Mm. So
it seems you're the perfect match.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes we exchange the roles, mm-hmm. So between the digital and analog. So that's
but it's true. I mean, Nicolas he really likes sketching, and I like sketching digitally, let's say. So it's fitting quite well. But also, I mean, coming back to the AI, I mean, a lot of people are asking, obviously, like, will the AI replace the architect, and do you really will need the architect at the end, or the engineer? I mean, for us, we are not, like, let's say, afraid of using AI. So for us, it's a really helpful tool, and it will also develop in the future much further. So if you don't use the tool, is like at this time, when the hand drawing was coming to the computer drawing or the computer, and if you say, okay, I will not use the computer, I will draw everything by hand, it's a bit the same step what is happening. And but coming back to this, it's still important for us, like also connecting with the ideas of the Kogis, that you have to go to the place, you have to understand the place where you want to build. You have to understand as well the culture, and you have to make a connection to the exact place and environment where you are. And this is very important to understand this, and maybe from there do some sketches which are more intuitive. And then you can use the AI to develop it further. So it's a bit a merge of both.
And I would have to add, the key word has been said, intuition, on context. The core of our work And we said it a bit at the beginning when we said we are traveling and we are going to different cultures. And the core of our work is the local context. It's a localized work. It's not a distant object we are trying to conceptualize somewhere in a studio in Berlin or somewhere else, disconnected from the feelings, the emotions, the change of light, the history, the geography, and all what's nourish the project. And there is no AI tool that can just have that deep emotions. And that discussion you have with the person who want to develop together the project, the partners. And the only great thing is like sometimes moving our intuition further. But we are still owning our decisions. We are just not putting in a black box some concept, text and pixel, and we get out of the hat something else. And that's why I love sketching, because my intuition is pure and I inhabit the sketch. But now whether it's a digital sketch or not, doesn't matter. There is some beautiful philosophy of that on architecture. You need to inhabit your space. What you create is to be inhabited, whether it's a bridge or a building or outdoor landscape. It has to be inhabited and the sense of Heidegger or the Dasein. That's a beautiful philosophy.
You know a bit of German.
Ambition. 10 years helps. A bit of philosophy as well. Very good philosophy.
Listening to this, what you just said, the Cityscape 2025 was all about the future of urban living. Was there one idea stunning, okay, this will be the idea of the future city or urban living?
I found it very interesting that mixed feeling that we had when we went to Cityscape. What we said before, to move from a very dense city, to travel the desert and just to go to that fair. And it's all about that. Some countries are trying to, so in this case of Saudi, are trying to develop themselves from where they are. Maybe Europe is an older generation. I've got more history, I would say. Or every country is claiming its geography and history, but there is a younger sense of development, so there is a lot of energy to develop further, but there is a lot to be done on the basic infrastructures. So they see things at an early stage in some ways, and there is a lot of excitement to draw some lines a bit nowhere. I think we always watch carefully which landscape where we are just putting our fingers.
Yeah, I mean, let's say, I mean, there's not, let's say, only one concept. So for them, sure, they have now the money and they want to, like develop their country. And as other countries are doing, or we're doing it as well. But sure, I mean, there will be obviously some projects which are not really sustainable, what they are developing there, but they still have as well the ambition and to also develop like sustainable and maybe even regenerative concepts for the city.
Should they ask the Kogi?
I think a link,
this would be good.
a link should be made, and there is no doubt, or whether it's a Kogi or other ancestral cultures.
They would need to ask their indigenous people what is the way to build. Actually,
to bounce back, there are some deep cultures. I traveled with a French delegation to Alula, which is like 2 hours north Riyadh. So it's a deep culture. It was for long a military reserve, so it was not accessible. Now they want to open it to tourism. You have deep understanding of mud, oasis, and local cultures. It just now there is such a will to go quick and open to a large public, to mass. So basically, if I would give them an advice, take your time. Like you have these beautiful books of Italo Calvino, you know, these invisible cities. Which each city have a name of a woman, and there's a different feelings, and they all have different history and layers. it takes time to build some cathedral. It takes time to build some cities. And independently from the cultures and the religions and basically the Arabic culture is very rich. There is a lot of things we learn from traveling there and what we hear and the perception of that specific country. It was the same thing for me when I went to Morocco building there. There is such a deep and long history on mathematicians, and so I think what is surprising me is the relationship to time. Everybody wants to do quick, big, long, high. So Dubai experienced that. Now Saudi wants this. We watch it.
Yeah, but I don't think they want the same as Dubai. That's not because they are still trying to connect to their history and to their culture. And
it's true.
Because, for example, there's one project, it's Diriyah. It's called Diriyah. And there they are trying to rebuild a little bit the past somehow. So they are, partly building mud houses and buildings there, and trying to connect to the traditions. So I think they don't want to have another Dubai there. It's still very important for them to think about their heritage, and but yeah, sure, some areas they will become like a city with high-rise towers. So yeah.
Will we see a Sterling-Presser building there in the future?
There are some good starts on key on sacred geometry. We can't name them for now because you know that confidentiality has to be kept. But we are starting working on interesting projects, which I think with a senseful contribution. That's the things we try to do as we approach each project. Like we talked about China before, or project in Europe, we try to have our own method and to, let's say, attract a project that makes sense for us in terms of materiality, in terms of sustainability, materials. And the one I'm mentioning has a strong impact on faith, sacred geometry, and I think this one will happen. And beautiful bridges are in discussion as well. Again.
Congrats. So this was a very successful trip.
It is. And we an interesting that Saudi as well is hosting some beautiful holy place. You've got Medina, you've got as well Mecca. We talk about Alula, Elke mentioned Diriyah. You have as well the birthplace of very deep cultural meanings. And it's not only the things we discuss a lot in the press, not to name some specific giga project. You got so many other things that make us very interested, excited. And that development I'm mentioning with sacred geometry on bridges, I think have a good chance to leave a long-term positive impact. So we can't name them yet, but a lot of positive things will happen in the next few months and years.
We stay in touch anyhow. You publish also some books.
Yeah, we have books where we were also contributing, and also our own books, and and also articles as well.
Would you like to name them?
For now, we are in the making.
We are doing a new one at the moment as well.
We are doing a book of our 7 years of practice. So it's not a portfolio. It's like what it is to have our 7 years of production, which was in the end, we found out doing the book. It was a very busy time. 7 years of production of sketching, digital and building as well. On my side, I'm also common work. There is a small book will be published with the help of the association AKTII in France about architecture de l'eau. So it is a couple of our projects are featured to explain the relationship to water, bridges, water theatre. So this will come in the next few months. We had beautiful articles as well this year about the Bridge of Bedburg and the Footbridge 2025. And we did as well a digital book on light and shadow, which I think is this is something we should soon have some paper copy.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we are like this, what we were saying before, this connection with the Kugis. We are also working at the moment on a new project. I mean, first one project in France as well.
Where is it?
It's in exactly in La Drôme. So it's between Lyon and Marseille, somewhere in the little mountains. Yeah, with another person who's just in touch with a Kogi community called Eric Julien, who wrote some very interesting books. Mm-hmm. And we think about, just to speak about books, and we think about doing a publication at one point about this project on our own thinking about regenerative design, spirituality, and new project.
Can you just describe a little bit the project, what it is all about?
The project started in Vienna by Elke reading about the Kogi. And I did the same of calling Eric Julien in France, who is in touch, just to
have the French part.
To have a French part. And just I was reading his book, which I found extremely interesting about his own experience going in Sierra Nevada and coming back with new thoughts on if he founded an association in France. And this building is called La Comtesse, and it's an old building where they're doing some, let's say, some workshops, and it needs some refurbishment. The building's suffering from water ingress and a little bit. It needs to have an extension, and there's some building permissions. And we had a beautiful idea of bring the idea of the okogi, the thoughts inside the refurbishment. So we have interesting new roof. We're just going to have the spirit of the Nue, and we have to know on the same site a Nue has been built. So the Kogi has been visiting this site. So soon we will go there and just discuss as well how to build this project. So we did a kind of feasibility, and
we were doing some physical models as well, and
try to
developing also with parametric and AI and sketches
and to use our technology to reshape that little stone building, which is not very big, into a new thinking that people can do workshops and welcome the Kogi and just maybe have something else than a tooth to slope.
And also to be connected to the landscape around.
Yeah.
It's to the mountains which are around, that there's a relationship between the buildings.
And the project started spontaneously with Eric Julien and his team as an initiative, and now we are fully embedded, and I really enjoy the discussions.
Have you ever been in Sierra Nevada, high up, and visiting the Kogi?
No, because I think they don't really want this as well. So they don't want that everybody is now coming to see them, because then they can't live their own life. So I think it's very restricted. Yeah, but I can also understand if they don't want to have many people coming around.
And it's quite high in the mountains, so it would be a longer journey. Yeah, you just need to embed the full journey, the experience. It's not a couple of days trip; it's a longer initiative. But we could think about it. Architecture is a journey.
Yeah, and like Nicolas was saying before as well, so each building we are doing as well, like what we started doing in China, we try to, we call it like a Kraftplatz, that we are connected to a certain, let's say landscape and a specific place where are certain energies as well. And there we are then also trying to work with sacred geometries. So on some projects, not all of them.
We are convinced that form and geometry is influencing the beings. Like as maybe as a big concept, there's a certain notion of healing behind. Why you feel so well in some specific place on forms. Even if we thought naming some sacred place like a cathedral or some church, or sometimes you just have some form welcome the beings on specific patterns as well in geometry, which we find very interesting as well in Islamic patterns or and these are a strong relationship to the beings. The development of architecture, the form finding, the exercise of finding the right form is engaging that discussion at the moment. What it is to be there and not somewhere else. What this place has to be and where we connect to that deep energy of the place. We are learning as well. We have a lot of humility. We think this, but we think that, for example, the discussion we have with the team of Eric Julien is they work with geobiology or they have people have deep understanding of specific energy of places, and we should listen to them. Like we are listening people in France, sourcier, people looking for some water. Sometimes you need to be open to maybe old knowledge before you build.
Listening is very important. If our listeners want to learn more about your work, where can you find Sterling-Presser website?
Yeah, our
Instagram.
website, www.sterlingpresser.com. Instagram as well, then even Facebook or LinkedIn or
on physically in Berlin.
Absolutely. I will stop by next time I'm in Berlin.
You are very welcome.
Elke and Nicolas, thank you very much for this very nice conversation. I learned a lot. Our listeners learned a lot. I wish you very much success for the future projects. And the one you just mentioned, we will learn about it probably in 5 to 6 months. More information you can then deliver. Best wishes. It was nice to talk to you.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Same for us. Yeah, thank you very much for your good questions and to exchange.
Keep in touch.
That's it for today, episode 113. I hope you enjoyed the stories and you feel inspired by the worlds of art, culture, architecture, and science. If you'd like to support us, feel free to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating or a few stars. It really helps us connect with more listeners like you. And if you'd like to become a sponsor of CUP, you can support us on Patreon via the link in the show notes. Even the value of a cup of coffee makes a difference for us and our work. Thank you for being here. I'd be very happy if you join us again next time. See you soon and